The Ukrainian Crisis Media Center starts its today's work, and we have our first briefing, which is called launching an application about information collected about the crimes committed in Ukraine. This is Sunflowers project, and we have Ms. Hofmanska.
The Foundation Sunflowers. Let me introduce you my prominent colleagues. Dr. Andriy Kosylo is the Foundation Executive Board member. Dr. Kosylo works at the Department of Criminology and Criminal Policy, and he is heading the Center for the Study of International Crimes at the University of Warsaw, Poland. Dr. Kosylo is an advocate registered in Poland and in Ukraine. He's an expert in international legal services. In the project, he's responsible for coordinating volunteers. Dr. Mykhaylo Shepitko, also present here today, is also a member of the board. Dr. Shepitko works at the Criminal Law Department of the Yaroslav Mudryi National Law University in Kharkiv, Ukraine. He's member of the group developing and preparing a new draft of Criminal Code of Ukraine. My name is Hofmanska, and I am the president of the Foundation Sunflowers that is running the project under the same name. In the project, I'm responsible for relations with other entities, promotion of the project, and fundraising. Before I will show you the app, I would like to briefly present the project. Let me not sure whether you can see can you see the my screen?
No.
Let me check again. Okay, in a minute you will see.
Yeah, we see your screen.
Okay, fantastic. Right. So just briefly, Project Sunflowers was created just a few days after the beginning of the full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine in February 2022 that started the biggest humanitarian crisis since the Second World War. The project was a private initiative of individuals and legal entities representing international and national NGOs, Polish Bar Association, and Prawo Justice Project, the biggest European project supporting the judicial reform in Ukraine. I invited lawyers, experts in the fields of international criminal law, humanitarian law, migration law, human rights, and the rights of people affected by armed conflicts to join the project. Their professional knowledge and experience, as well as great empathy and the need to get involved in a socially important project, influenced the final shape of the project. You can read, of course, about each of the initiators of the project on our website. The initiators of the project became the founders of the Foundation Sunflowers. At this moment, the project Sunflowers is the only project the Foundation is running, although the Foundation can run similar projects in the context of the other armed conflicts. We decided to give the same name to the Foundation as the name of our first project, to remember when and why we met. The Foundation was registered accidentally exactly on the first anniversary of the Russian full-scale invasion of Ukraine. The foundation is headed by the Foundation Council, and the Foundation Executive Board is its operational body. In the project, we often use the catchphrase enabling information, enabling justice. It reflects our mission. So what is the mission of the project? The mission of the project is to support international and national authorities established to investigate and adjudicate international crimes committed in Ukraine by providing information on such crimes, stored in a safe database, especially created for this purpose. Information we collect will be shared with all these authorities, including the International Criminal Court. If a special tribunal for aggression or a hybrid tribunal is set up, we will also share the access to our database with each of them. Our mission is also providing institutions involved in reparation projects for survivors of the war with information on damage suffered as a result of the war. One of such institutions is the Trust Fund for Victims of the International Criminal Court, that is responsible for implementing reparations orders issued by the court, but also has the assistance mandate that allows to implement reparations programs when the perpetrator will not be accused. We believe that collecting such information and sharing it with relevant authorities and institutions will contribute to bringing justice to the victims of the war in Ukraine. Please note that the project also raises awareness about war crimes, crimes against humanity, genocide, the crime of aggression, as well as humanitarian law, migration law, human rights, and the rights of victims of armed conflicts. To do so, we organize open webinars, inviting prominent experts. I encourage you to visit our website and watch the recordings of the previous webinars. Why is it important to collect information? Because justice must be done in both its aspects, retributive and reparative. Why is it important to collect information about evidence of international crimes committed in Ukraine? Because this information can be transformed into evidence used in criminal proceedings against alleged perpetrators. It is essential for retributive justice. I would like to underline that we are not collecting evidence of crimes, only information about evidence. What is the difference? Only investigators can collect evidence of crimes. And because we are not investigators, we can collect only information about evidence of crimes. Whether a piece of information can be evidence in a case is decided by the investigator. The more information we collect, the greater the chance that the investigators will select the information that they consider relevant to the investigations they are conducting and admit this information as evidence in a particular case. Of course, no one of the foundation will analyze the information we collect. And why is it important to collect information about victims of the war in Ukraine and the damage they have suffered? Because this information can speed up the preparation of future reparation programs. It is essential for reparative justice. And since the project Sunflowers was created, its team has done a lot. As of March 2022, the project website is operational. In October 2022, the project team launched social media. We also have launched recently the app-like form to collect information and obtain a secure server to store it. So far, we have built a network of volunteers in 19 countries, including Ukraine, and also countries where Ukrainian refugees reside now. We train volunteers to assist potential witnesses and victims of the war in depositing information about international crimes committed in Ukraine and damage caused as a result of the war. Through training in psychological support, we believe that our volunteers are ready to interact with people affected by the war in a way not to deepen their trauma. The project regularly organizes open webinars. In October this year, the foundation became a member of the Coalition for the ICC. It is the largest platform of NGOs from more than 150 countries which support the ICC in its mission to bring justice to victims of armed conflicts. Moreover, in countries covered by the project, its team is mapping professional centers where people affected by the war can get professional psychological support. Speaking of volunteers, Andriy Kosylo, who in the project is responsible for coordinating volunteers, will tell you more about a network of volunteers we have established and their role in the project. Dr. Kosylo will also explain how information we collect can be used by different law enforcement authorities. Andriy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Eva. Доброго дня всім.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our press conference. As Pani Eva has mentioned, volunteers play a great role in the implementation of our project. Actually, a volunteer is that very person who is responsible for the contact with a specific witness of any crime, international crime committed in Ukraine. I mean the crime of aggression, crime of genocide, or war crimes. That is, our objective is to collect information which later could be used either by ICC or possibly other international tribunals that could be established in relation to the war crimes in Ukraine. That could be used in the universal jurisdiction. Universal jurisdiction is an international jurisdiction which allows to bring in criminal cases against international criminal law, and that has been already done by Poland and by the Netherlands, and this gives us hope that in future we'll be able to bring to responsibility some persons which are responsible for those war crimes in Ukraine, and that will be announced to search. So what do our volunteers do? They assist victims in filling in the specific template, specific form describing the crime committed against this question, war crime committed against this question. Also, they record video or audio files which possibly could be used, which could later become available as evidence. Also, we do training and training for volunteers. Trainings comprise two blocks. The first part is devoted to theory, what to collect and how to collect, and the second part of training is psychological training, because volunteers contact with the victims of crimes, and they have to know how to approach to these people, how to speak to them, how not to strengthen victimization of victims, how to prevent further trauma, further psychological trauma for the victims. In a moment, I will find and show you how it looks like on our website. So if you go to our website, to Ukrainian version, by the way, the website is available in two languages, in Ukrainian and in English. So in Ukrainian, you can find this button, how you can help. This is a button for potential volunteers, and you can find out what are the requirements to volunteers. And we encourage those volunteers who either have something in common with a legal area or have legal background, or if you simply are willing to help in this project. Here you can find explanation how to become a volunteer, and at the end of this website you can find an application template where you indicate your name, your languages. Currently there are Ukrainian, Polish and English languages, or you may alternatively indicate any other country, and then you submit this application to us, and later we will appoint an interview with you and make decision, then decision about your enrollment, and then you will undergo training, and later, after training, you will sign the you will be trained how to use safe servers, and how to secure information collected by the volunteers, and as to the confidentiality of our information, as I mentioned, it is stored on safe servers, and it will later be passed only exclusively to the judiciary of international courts and or tribunals. Here on this map you can see volunteers enrolled from other countries, and you can easily see that these volunteers are in multiple countries because of war. Many Ukrainians fled abroad, and now those volunteers have to act in other countries and collect evidence from displaced people, from refugees. And for example, a volunteer working in France may collect evidence from those Ukrainians who fled from the war, who were witnesses of war crimes or crime of aggression or crime of genocide and fled to France.
Mykhaylo Shepitko will tell you why the project Sunflowers is the unique one. Mykhaylo, the floor is yours.
Дякую, пані Ева. Шановні
Thank you, Miss Ava, dear friends. Sunflowers Foundation, from the very beginning of the war, had accepted this difficult task to resume justice, to ensure justice for the victims of war, to ensure that the lives of our defenders are not wasted, and to bring to responsibility the perpetrators. Our Sunflower project is unique in that way that it is a non-government organization, and it carries out support function, additional function to the law enforcement agencies, and helps to collect evidence and store evidence for the future court proceedings. Since February 2024, only in Ukraine, more than 110,000 of war crimes are already registered. And of course, Ukrainian law enforcement bodies are unable to cope with all that huge amount of cases and investigate them and collect evidence. And this is not to mention all those crimes which are being committed continuously in the occupied territories. And quite on, the victims of war crimes are also the witnesses of war crimes. That's why from the early stages of full-scale invasion, we came together with our international colleagues, primarily from Poland, to professionally collect the evidence, which later could be used by the investigators. So how do we work? An application about the crime committed against any person, that is, the war crime, crime of aggression, crime or genocide, could be reported by either a victim or a witness. It could be reported on our website. Later, our volunteers would approach to those witnesses or victims and document their evidence. Why it is so important to provide such assistance to the law enforcement and to judiciary. As you have seen from the map shown to you. The victims and witnesses found themselves scattered around Europe. They have no willingness to go back to Ukraine now, and sometimes they do not trust to law enforcement, or they are excessively traumatized to approach to them. And in this case, we step in and offer our help in collecting the evidence. What are our strengths? We are able to collect evidence, to record them, and store the information on safe servers, which is inaccessible to the enemies. Why it is so important to use this resource? We have good contacts with international institutions. We are able to provide the collected evidence directly to the International Criminal Court or to other institutions who might be interested in providing justice to the victims, both internationally or in Ukraine. Unfortunately, as of today, we have to confess that the proceedings against war crimes, crime of aggression, crime of genocide, these are the most complicated crimes to persecute. Partially because it is not so easy to collect evidence, partially because law enforcement agencies are unable to cope with a huge amount of them, and partially because the new crimes are being committed. And our task is to store the evidence as early as possible, as close to the commitment of crime as possible, because with time, either victims or witnesses, they forget the details, and thus evidence could be spoiled.
Now I would like to present how the app works. So only try to share my screen. Right? Okay, I hope right now you can see my screen. So any person who has information about incident or damage that could be considered international crimes or has suffered war-related damage should go to the project website. And right now I can show you our project website. And then, maybe I need to click on the share information button. I will do that. Okay. Right. Okay. And now the person then fills in a short form providing details that will allow us to get back in touch with that person. The volunteer coordinator, Andriy, Kosylo, receives a notification of the new request based on the data provided in the application. The volunteer coordinator assigns a specific volunteer to contact the person who wants to share information based on, for example, country of residence and also language of communication. The volunteer is tasked with contacting that person, verifying their identity, and providing them with a link to the app. For security reasons, the app is not publicly available at this stage. The person who receives the link to the app should log in immediately, no later than within 3 days. Otherwise, the link will be deactivated and the whole procedure will have to be repeated. I will now show you the app. The app is available in 3 language versions, Ukrainian, Polish, and also English. It's generally user-friendly and has tools I will show you in a moment that help to fill out the form. Of course, if anyone needs help to complete the form, they should contact the same volunteer and ask for help. Everyone logged in has as much time as they need to fill out the form. It is also possible to complete the draft version of the form, make changes, add additional information before it is sent out. Even if the form is submitted, it is still possible to withdraw it. There, I will just we go through the application. So there are generally 5 parts, A, B, C, D, and E. In part A, the person needs to mark whether that person has information about events and evidence of crimes committed in Ukraine, or maybe that person has also suffered damage as a result of crimes committed in Ukraine. And then there is a space to indicate personal and contact details, also address the last residence, which is not obligatory, not mandatory, of course, address of intended stay, and, of course, additional information on persons who can facilitate contact, because of course we are aware that Ukrainians are, I would say, traveling, right? For example, if someone is right now in Poland, no one knows whether that person will be still there in a month or maybe in a year. That's why we also ask to put some information about persons who can facilitate contact in the future. In part B deals with information on incidents that can be considered as international crimes. There is a space to indicate period of time and also location, but, which is very much important, also it is mandatory to mark category of event. And as I said before, this kind of information has additional tools, as you can see right now, with detailed, I would say, explanation what exactly this wording means. Everything just to help people who will fill out the form to do that properly. It is also some space, as you can see, to put more details and describe the site of such incident, and also there is a space for the scripting of such incident. It is also possible to download photos or videos. And of course, you can add as many incidents as you can. You can also put in this section additional witnesses, if there are any, of course. And, for example, you can also add some information about the perpetrator, if that person, of course, knows the perpetrator. And then there is part C, which focus on damage. As in part B, there is a space to indicate the date of damage, the place of damage, the type of damage. There is also a space for a detailed description of the location and of the damage and the damage itself, as well as space for the identification of the parties responsible for the damage. of course, if anyone knows the perpetrators. Part D. In Part D, we are asking whether the person completing the form has already passed the same information or similar information to any other authorities. This information may be useful to law enforcement agencies in their mutual coordination regarding the listed crimes and damage. There are also some approvals that need to be given to let us pass on the information to competent authorities and institutions. Part E is something like a summary, where the person completing the form can see whether filled out each part of the form properly. Of course, you can see lots of red lines because I didn't fill out properly all the sections. When there is no red wording in this part, it means that it can be submitted. It can be submitted. Every few seconds, the form is saved automatically. After, you can, of course, also manually do that, but if there won't be any red marks, then you can send the form. And of course, everyone will get the email with the confirmation that we got the form. I don't know, Andriy and Mykhaylo, would you like to add anything else?
З вашого дозволу.
Yeah, upon your permission, I would like to add only a small comment that this application form could be filled in Ukrainian language if it is easier for you. In Ukrainian language, you have to fill the very simple contact information, ID information, and describe the event or incident that happened. Our volunteers who would later contact you, they are not investigators. They only provide assistance to you if you do not know how to fill in this form properly. So based on your contact information, they will approach you and provide assistance.
Так, я хотів теж додати, що
I would like to add that volunteers do not interfere into filling of the form. This is the witness who fills in the form. A volunteer just consults or answers the questions of the witness, which prevents any distortion of information by a volunteer. A volunteer has no access to this information. All the information is introduced, is put into the form exclusively by the witness. And in this very writing, in this very view, all the information will go later to the competent authorities. So the role of the volunteer is to help the witness and to answer her questions when she fills the form.
Your attention. Please contact us in case of any questions you might have due to the project. Thank you so much.
якщо ще можна, хотів теж запросити.
I also would like to invite Ukrainian lawyers, especially maybe law students of senior grades, practical lawyers to join our project in a role of volunteers. Not only lawyers, we invite you to fill in the form. We'll be happy to see you in our team of sunflowers. Thank you. Have we finished? Yes, we have finished. Thank you. Well, till next meetings, and we wish you a lot of